What's up guys? Today I'm going to show you how to replace a throttle body. Right over here. Throttle body and a gasket, throttle body gasket on a 2015 Genesis Coupe. This will work with the 2013 on up. So, and this is the 3.8. Gotta mention that. So the first thing that you want to do is start with removing the negative post on the battery, because this is a drive-by wire. You don't want to short circuit anything. So we're going to go ahead and take, I believe it is our 12 millimeter, and just start by removing the negative post on the battery. You don't have to remove the positive, just negative. Okay, just lift it on up, just like so, and just put it off to the side. Be sure to keep everything in the correct places where you can actually find it later on. And you'll see me kind of running back over here a couple times in this video. So there's our negative. I also have to mention that I do have a different intake, so this might be different from stock users. I do have the AM intake, so it might be a little bit different. Not much, but kind of same thing goes here. I also have the throttle body coolant bypass done to this throttle body, so it'd be a little bit easier for me as well. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so what we do next is take our screwdrivers, get a flathead, Phillips, and just go ahead and keep them right there. I'm going to go ahead and start removing the intake. Alright, just by doing this. And like I said, this would be much easier on mine because it is a different intake from factory. And you can usually do that by hand for the most part. Let's just go and loosen up that much and go ahead and pull this sensor. Just want to pull it out. It does have like a little gasket on it, so where no water gets in it. Alright, so once we happen to have these two loosened up, what we're going to do is go ahead and remove this. This is a Phillips head screwdriver. I got my lovely wife looking for a pair of pliers right now as we speak. And this doesn't have to come completely off, just has to get loose so where you can actually move it. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and remove this engine cover so where it's easier to work with over here. And on this engine cover you'll have a spot right here, right here, right here, and right here that's actually stuck down. So what I'm going to do is just take it and pull. Simple as that. So what I'm going to do is remove this for the PCV for the intake. Remove that off with the snub nose or the needle nose. That's all you need. Whatever this is. These types of pliers. Pliers, just remove it with pliers. Just basically squeeze it, pull back, release. And my car is hot. I did just get home from work, so might be a little sticky to try to get these things off. Usually you can kind of twist and eventually it'll come off just like that. Simple, 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 simple. Then we're just going to go ahead, and since we already loosened up this one, just pull this one off. This one's simple as well. And because I have an aftermarket intake, I'll just go ahead and remove it. Easy, easy, easy. Speaking of which, I actually have to clean out my air filter. And clean out this. It's looking a little funky in there. Air filter definitely needs a cleaning. I've been about 5,000 miles on it, so definitely clean this up a little bit, and hopefully it should run a little bit better. We're going to go ahead and find the bolts for these things, or sockets for these things, and we're also going to go and remove this plug up here. Let's see if I can actually show you guys what I'm talking about. Sorry, it's kind of hard to get into. I'm wearing a headband on a GoPro, or a GoPro on a headband, and it's kind of difficult to actually get to. So this little plug right here, let's see how that actually unsnaps. Okay, so you got like a little push plug on this side, right where my thumb is at. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Right there. Push that in and pull out at the same exact time. Let's see, I might actually just take off this real quick. Might make it a little bit easier for me to get into. Much better. Alright, so yeah, just take off your fuse box cover. I've got mine painted red. Just take it off. Whenever you're trying to undo this little circuit right here, just because it makes it a lot easier. So we got 10 millimeter. I'm just going to go ahead and loosen, like so. 10 on this side, loosen, like so. 10 right down here, loosen. And let's see, we've got another 10 somewhere else, I'm sure. Actually, let's just go ahead and take these guys off real quick. Alright, and just a little heads up, I did notice something already. If you want to keep your warranty on for Hyundai and have them hopefully not notice things that you happen to change out in your car, almost everything is painted with a little mark. This one, for instance, is painted with a white mark. The reason for that is because if you happen to look on the throttle body right up here, it's also painted with a white mark. So, whenever you happen to put this on, just make sure that you happen to get those two white marks lined up perfectly. And that is a way to keep your warranty on a brand new car if you're trying to do mods like this. Just make sure you do it right. But if you have an oversized throttle body like what I'm about to have, more than likely you'll figure it out really quickly. Keep all your parts in the correct order where you can figure out where they're all at later on. Okay, so one thing I did notice already, and I was kind of expecting this, the throttle body has two nuts on top right here. So it's got two nuts that come loose, and on the bottom it has two bolts. So just keep that in mind. It'll look a little different, and it'll make easier for your reinstallation, so you don't have to worry about anything. Just keep them in the correct order. Whew, man, it is like 90 degrees in here. Sweating over a hot engine. It's great. Nothing like wrenching at night. Definitely beats like doing this in the sun though, that's for sure. Otherwise I'd be doing it in the sun, out of the garage, which is a lot hotter. And mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are awful. So what I'm doing right now is actually just loosening the other bolt on this side. Let's see if I can get a view in on that. So this bolt right here was right there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me check on my phone just to be sure. Okay, so that bolt was just right there, right in that little cubby hole right there. If you happen to look at it, it will be basically a square. You'll have two up here and two down here. So, and the coolant bypass, what I was telling you about earlier, if you do not have that done, which I highly suggest it, if you do not have that done, what you'll need to do is get a paper towel and actually reroute your coolant lines so where they're not going to leak. So what you got here is you have your coolant line over here. Right down here, you got them running into this metal tubing, basically right here. You got two of them. And one of them is going to be running to one post of the throttle body, the other one's going to be running to the other one. And as soon as you undo those lines, those fuel lines, vacuum lines, whatever type of lines you want to call them, they're going to pour antifreeze or coolant, whatever you want to call it, all over the car. So make sure that you have a towel ready, and make sure that you want the line to be facing upwards, that way it doesn't pour out all over your exhaust manifold onto anything hot, so where you won't have any awful smell or possibly cause a fire or short out any electronics or anything like that. So just make sure that you're rerouting these. There are plenty of YouTube videos of how to do a throttle body coolant bypass. Highly suggest it. If it's in the winter, you obviously want to hook it back up, but it's not winter right now, as you can kind of tell, because I am sweating like a freaking pig. So we're definitely going to keep that disconnected because it is hot, and this car runs very, very hot. So we're going to go ahead and from here, once you happen to have that throttle body coolant bypass mod, you can just pull off from here, and boom. And since I am replacing that gasket, I don't have to worry about that too much. So what I've got right here is, because I did this stupidly whenever I happened to do the coolant bypass, I hooked it into itself like a jackass. So now I've got to suffer for that. So what I'm going to do is take a pair of pliers right here and just kind of twist this over and over until it finally breaks loose. What we got here is our stock throttle body. Let's see, how is this set up? Stock throttle body. Okay, just like that. And what I've got here is the oversized throttle body. Let's see. Got this done from a shop called Max Bore in Florida. Guy is really quick about it. Had a turnaround time of about, with shipping and everything, about a week and a half. So not too bad, not terrible at all. Got it oversized to 80 millimeters, so a little bit more air, a little bit more fuel. So hopefully it'll perform a little bit better. I read online that it was going to surge a little bit, first one starting it up, until the ECU relearns it. It's kind of expected. ECUs always need to relearn things. Also, I've got an ECU coming in from BTR, Blood Type Racing. If you guys are into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because I will be posting up how to do that as well. So I've also got my new gasket right here. It is a thermal gasket, so hopefully reduce temps even more. And we'll go ahead and see what we can do with this. So let's go ahead and put it on the top two posts real quick. And Hyundai is they're very good at actually knowing where everything's actually seated at. And I'll show you what I'm talking about right here again. You know, I said there was like markings on the nuts and on the bolts. And there's also a marking right here for the gasket. So if you do something as simple as changing out the gasket without getting it aligned correctly, you can be out your warranty. If the dealership that you're going at is a bunch of complete dicks. Thankfully, I am on a good relationship with my Hyundai dealer. Really cool guys. So what I'm doing is just reinstalling it. I'm gonna go ahead and put these little guys on here. And real quick, I already noticed something that will raise a little bit of suspicion. So the marking on the nuts are white, whereas the marking on the throttle body is green, because I did buy a separate throttle body to bore it out. So just keep that in mind, because they will notice that. Whoop. Got sockets flying everywhere. And let me go ahead and throw my phone over here that way we can see what I'm doing. Okay, so now I got the top two kind of on. Not really anything like secured or anything. Yep. Sorry if you guys can't see that. It's kind of hard to show you. Because the right side, I've got to put this little bracket back on. So it's a little hard to do the right side anyway. And the left side. Let's see if I can move that light out the way. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. What I'm doing is just hand tighten it right now. I'll go back in and torque it down a little bit later. Just go ahead and hand tighten that. You just kind of want it to be snug. Nothing too crazy, no false strength or anything like that. And let's go ahead and do this one. And let's see. Okay, that's what it was caught on. Okay. I was trying to figure out where my cable went to. It was way down there. Alright, so what you want to do is just get that little guy lined up, a little bracket lined up. You just want to get that little bracket lined up, put that bolt through there, and you'll be pretty much on your way to being complete as far as the throttle body goes. From here, it's just reinstalling everything back. I'll go ahead and walk you through it if you have the AEM intake, but realistically, it's just reversing everything that you did from here. If you do not have another gasket, I would recommend buying one as well if you're doing a throttle body, just because if you happen to have any vacuum leaks, your car will start surging and will never actually pick up from that. Mine will surge for a little bit, for about 100 miles, because the ECU is going to relearn the overboard throttle body. but if you do not have a constant source of vacuum or pressure, you won't be able to actually get it correctly, and your ECU won't learn it. So just keep that in mind. Get a decent gasket. Recommend Hyundai gaskets because they usually supply some of the best shit for that car. Or if you're using it for any other car. And I've got my light dropping. Sorry about that, guys. Using a different type of car, you can use it for that too. Right now all I'm doing is just tightening up the bolts. Got the bottom two. And like I said, you don't have to halt tighten them. Just enough so where they're snug. Don't make them too loose because you don't want the thing falling out on you while you're doing 100 miles an hour, doing some sick drifts or anything like that, if you do that type of shit. Alright, so what we got here is we got a really dark engine bay and a light caught on a string. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so what we have here is we have an overboard throttle body. As you can tell right here, we've got a new gasket on it, thermal gasket, so where it reduces temps a little bit better. We're gonna go ahead and plug this up, and remember, you have your battery disconnected right over there. You have your battery disconnected, so you don't have to worry about anything shooting up at you, throwing up gang signs, or shooting sparks at you, or hitting you with a 9mm or anything like that. You might have to worry about that if you live in a really bad place, really bad area, and you're doing this shit outside, but in a garage you're pretty safe. So what we're going to do is just reassemble everything. I'm actually going to take a small little break and clean out my air filter, and my hair is getting in the camera. That is awesome. I'm going to take a small little break to clean out the air filter and get back right with you guys. Alright guys, I am back. I just cleaned out my intake air filter. Just sprayed it out with a little bit of compressed air. Nothing really too special. Doesn't have much mileage on it. It's not really filthy, so I'm not going to really worry about it too much. So what you're going to do is install your original intake if you have the factory intake on here, which the factory intake on these cars are very, very sufficient. I just did this so where it's easier for me to replace things on it whenever I need to. So right here what we're going to do is just reinstall everything. And by doing that, we're going to go ahead and start with this little clip down here. Like I said, just kind of push that on there. It's pretty easy to do, pretty simple. If you screw that up, that's your bad. Let's go ahead and hook up all the piping, so where it's really easy to smash it in there. And just kind of force it if it doesn't want to go in, you know, like your usual Saturday night. Put this little sound tube back on. Mine kind of melted a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't cause too much of an issue. It shouldn't. We should be fine. If not, then I'll just delete it later on. We'll be fine. Just go ahead and tighten that sucker back up. Make sure it doesn't move, which it does a little bit, so I'm going to put a little bit more force on it. Alright, now it's not going anywhere. Alright. So we got this little guy clipped in, this connector. We got this connector clipped in. We got our piping back on. I just need to find out where I put my pliers. Right over here. So just go ahead and squeeze that little guy. And make sure your pipe's on. You don't want your pipe flying off or anything. Make sure your pipe's on. And like I said, everything is marked with some type of paint. On this throttle body, it's marked with yellow and green paint. Yours might be white, might be red, might be black. My original was marked with one yellow, so nothing too massive on this one. But still, just something that you want to note in case you happen to need to do a warranty and your dealer is a complete asshole about everything, which they shouldn't complain too much about a throttle body or anything. But if they are, just make sure that you know what you're looking for. Color codes, usually marker codes. They're usually marked with some type of marker. And as long as you get them lined up perfectly, you shouldn't have an issue. Alright, so what we've got here is a very, very loose intake. I'm going to go ahead and tighten that down some more. Much better, much better. Much better. Alright, so once you have all your sensors hooked up, everything's tightened down, snugged down. Make sure any vacuum line, also coolant lines, if you guys have not done the coolant bypass, make sure you hook up those coolant lines the way that they were. But I didn't have that done, so I don't have to worry about that. Just make note of that. Guys who do not have the coolant bypass mod, be sure to hook those coolant lines back up or you get in the world for trouble. So once you have everything hooked back up, you got your two sensors, one right here, intake air temperature sensor, and you got your throttle body sensor over here, drive-by-wire cable, whatever you want to fucking call it, these stupid sensor pieces of shit. Once you have both of those hooked up, you got everything tightened up, clamps, 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 everything's tightened up. Make sure your throttle body's tightened up. Make sure there's no wiggle in there. Just double, triple check yourself. It's better to check yourself multiple times rather than just checking yourself one time and expecting everything to be good and wind up stranded on the side of the road. Very last thing you need to do, hook up your battery. And because I have my lovely wife coming out here at the same exact time that I need a nut, hopefully she will give me that nut. And I'm totally going to leave that in the video because that sounds kinky as hell. I need the nut over there. Should be a 12mm nut, I believe. Thank you, sweetie. And there you go. Just put that little guy back on there. Pretty much. Wasn't too bad. And I'm completely dumb right here because I just said it was a 12mm nut. And what did I use to screw this on with? A 10. How did you guess? Remember guys, a happy workspace is a happy workspace. Actually, a clean workspace is a happy workspace. That's what I'm trying to say. That makes more sense, she says. As I will try to continue to figure out what the hell I'm trying to say throughout this whole video. So just tighten up the battery. Make sure that you have it nice and snug. Make sure no ground cables can come loose. And that's pretty much it. That's how you install a throttle body on a 2013 to 2015 Hyundai Genesis 3.8. That's a coupe model. And it's drive-by-wire, so you don't have to worry about any funky cables or anything. And probably the best bang for your buck is that mod right there, 80mm bore from Max Bore. So just go ahead and hit him up if you need anything from that. The guy's located in Florida. Does a really good job. Alright guys, so I just finished up with the video of changing out the throttle body on a Genesis Coupe 3.8. So I just want to give you guys a little heads up, letting you know that it did start up, everything was fine. Actually no idle issues whatsoever on startup. Kind of surprised about that. But like I said, I did reset the ECU, so maybe it's just still learning it and maybe it'll start a little bit later, issues with that. Just kind of let you know, I do have a different throttle body on, look at the markings. I do have my spacer on as well. You kind of see a little clear little spacer, thermal spacer, or thermal gasket, whatever you want to call it. Just kind of let you know I did install a throttle body, and hopefully we'll be seeing some pretty decent gains pretty soon. So stay tuned guys. I'm getting a BTR ECU coming in pretty soon, probably next week or so. I'll be making a video how to change out that as well. And yeah, be sure to hit the subscribe button and like the video, share the video if you're interested in seeing more stuff like this. Thanks for watching. See you next time.